you're looking to climb out of low elo the fastest for Season 16, then this video is going to provide you with the blueprint to get started. Choosing any of the champions that we feature in this video is going to give you a huge edge up in your climb. So many low elo players just make things way harder than they have to be by branching off and playing super mechanically demanding champions, so most of the picks we feature in this video will have lower skill floors, meaning you won't need to play a ton of games in order to get the most out of them. So 3 champions for every single role who are the most optimal for your climb out of low elo in Season 16.
Throughout the rift, a great migration occurs every 30 seconds. The minion wave, a vital food source for any climber who knows how to harvest it. But here, we observe one of nature's most baffling behaviors, the hard-stuck player abandoning his food source to chase a kill he will never get. Without proper wave management, he cannot survive, he cannot grow, he cannot climb. In the wild, this tragedy plays out thousands of times every minute, but today, something is different. Today, he discovered a powerful new tool. SkillCapped Season 16 macro and wave control courses, designed to teach even the most lost climber the secrets of the rift, walking you through every minute of the game step by step, from the very first wave all the way to closing out games cleanly. And unlike other guides in the wild, we focus on teaching you the macro concepts that actually work in solo queue, and most importantly, strategies you can execute without having to rely on the rest of your pack, which paired with our newly updated Essentials courses covers everything you need to master Season 16 for every role, giving you the complete roadmap to climb this season. And best of all, you can do it all completely risk-free, as you're backed up by a rank-up guarantee. If you somehow don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service, then you get every penny back. For the first time in his life, he is no longer hard stuck. Check out the link in the description below for an exclusive one-time discount code.
So starting things off up in the top lane, our first recommendation is going to be Set. Set is a really strong low elo champion because he has the ability to stat check incredibly hard with a lead. The majority of your damage is point and click with Set, as the only more difficult part about him is getting used to his W and using that at the correct time. This is great though, because when you first pick up Set, you'll be able to find good success without any mastery of his W, but the more time you spend on him and can get used to using the spell, that's where his ability to 1v2 really comes into play. A Set who has a lead and can time his W at the correct moment in a skirmish can absolutely annihilate his opponents, something our challenger top laner Strumpus loves to do on his Set, and this will work even better in the lower ranks, is sneak into the far lane brush in top lane at the very start of the game, and then if the enemy either face checks into you or when the wave arrives, you just run at them and start fighting. Set's level 1 is extremely powerful because of his passive. His passive allows him to auto attack 2 times very quickly, so this lets Set stat check the majority of top laners at level 1. So as we can see here, the enemy Kayle never ended up checking the top lane brush, so Strumpus just played it patient, waited for the wave to arrive, and then popped Ghost to run Kayle down. In order to climb out of low elo the fastest, playing somebody like Set who can look to fight straight from level 1 is super good. Can't just expect to climb by going even in lane and hoping your bot lane doesn't feed. You've got to be the sole carry on your team, and Set is a great low elo pick in that regard. We have a ton of full game commentaries for Set up on our website, so if he's a champ you're looking to pick up, then those can really help you out. A top laner who has become one of the best low elo picks over the past year, consistently holding a top 3 win rate for ranks gold and below, is Singed. Singed used to be a champ who required quite a bit of skill to play effectively, but ever since Riot added the execute on his Q to where as long as poison is ticking on minions when they die, he will receive the gold, it's made him way stronger for the average player. Singed is a top lane champ who provides a ton of value game in and game out. Singed R is a big reason for this because it provides you with a bunch of stats and lasts for a whole 25 seconds, so you don't even need to pop it at the perfect time to get use out of the spell. You literally gain bonus ability power, armor, magic resist, movement speed, health regen, and mana regen when R is popped, and then the cherry on top is that your Q will apply grievous wounds to targets hit, so you never have to build an Oblivion Orb on the champ. So a ludicrous amount of value coming out of a spell that takes no skill at all to use, which gives Singed so much power for low elo. You're just running around in fights with more stats than everyone else, being a super annoying disruptor, and it's really hard for low elo players especially to counter this. A Singed running at you with the movement speed from Ghost and R is really difficult to fend off, and if you're on the opposing ADC, applying Rylai's slows and grounding them with your W, then it really limits what enemy carries are able to get done in fights. It's not like Singed is just there as an annoyance either. He has the ability to kill his target quite easily if they are squishy, because all of his damage is point and click. And then one champ who almost always remains a great low elo pick and a top 3 champ without question for Season 16 is Garen. Garen is the best fighter that you can play for low elo because there are way fewer ways to mess up on Garen compared to other fighters, and he's just as impactful, if not even more impactful than the rest. What makes Garen so great is that it's really easy for you to identify kill windows and actually capitalize on them. If you're fed on Garen and there is an enemy squishy champion walking close to you, then you know that with all your abilities available that you will be able to kill them. You can't say the same with many other fighters though, because lots of them are relying on hitting a skill shot to put the enemy in lethal range, and if that skill shot misses, then they've lost that kill window. If you have flash with Garen and you flash Q onto an enemy squishy, there's literally nothing they can do to stop you. Vice versa though, if you're playing a fighter like Camille, Aatrox, Fiora, Yone, or Aurelia, every one of those champs has an ability that's flashable or dodgeable with a mobility spell, so it just makes executing less reliable. Escaping low elo is all about being as consistent as you can in every single game, because over a large enough sample of games, you will be rewarded, and that's why Garen is such a great pick. If you're able to stay up and farm and hit 2 items in the mid game, then you will always be somewhat relevant due to the threat of your Q flash into E and R during mid game fights. There's one jungler who continuously outperforms in the lower ranks patch after patch, and a great add to your champion pool is Shyvana. Shyvana is a perfect low elo jungler because she has a very defined path to victory. You don't have very strong early ganks with Shyvana, so this reduces the amount of variance in each game. Lowering variance is something that you want to escape low elo the fastest because it will make you way more consistent. The more options you have, the more likely you're going to make the suboptimal choice, but if hard farming and clearing for your level 6 is the best strategy for nearly every single game, then you have way less to worry about. Sure, if you are finished your full clear and you see the enemy top laner sitting near your tower at 10% health, then go grab that free kill. But unless the gank is clearly going to work out in your favor, you should be looking to prioritize your camps and hit 6 as soon as you can. The skirmish of Shyvana when she has her ult is incredible, and this gives you a very clear power point to play around. Is my R up? Okay, then I can look to be more aggressive. Is R down? I should be looking to farm my camps and wait to fight until R comes back up. These very simple rules are what makes Shyvana so great for low elo, as you don't have countless different things that you've got to put into consideration. So for our second jungle selection, he's very similar in theme to Shyvana, as Nasus is another phenomenal low elo pick right now. Nasus and Shyvana are quite similar in the sense that they are hard spiking level 6 champs who should be rotating their camps on respawn and hitting 6 as soon as possible. Nasus has an arguably even better level 6 spike than Shyvana does because his 1v1 with R available is completely insane. If you run into the enemy jungler and you have your R up, then there are very few champs who can go toe-to-toe with you at level 6. The one benefit that Shyvana has over Nasus is that she does have better backline access with her R since it's a gap closer. So if you had both Shyvana and Nasus in your champion pool right now, then you could look to blind pick Shyvana and use Nasus as more of a counter to comps with lower CC or comps who are very auto attack reliant. Nasus being able to hard counter auto reliant champions with his attack speed slow from W is a big reason to why he can be so effective in the lower ranks, because we see so much of Yasuo and Yone. So the biggest thing to focus on with Nasus jungle is similar to what we mentioned for Shyvana, in that when R is up, be aggressive, but when it's down, farm up and play more reserve. If you can be consistent with that game plan, then you are going to escape the lower ranks with Nasus in no time. And then to round out the top 3 for jungle, we have by far the best tank pick for the lower ranks being Rammus. If you're someone who wants a jungler who can gank a bit more effectively in the early game, then side with Rammus instead of Shyvana or Nasus. Rammus has some of the best early ganks for any jungler because they are incredibly easy to execute and very hard for enemies to escape from. A Rammus rolling in with his Q followed by the point and click taunt is nearly guaranteed to burn the enemy's flash, if not score you a kill every single time. And then as you transition into the mid game with Rammus, he becomes a super durable engaged threat who can also deal pretty respectable damage for a tank. If you rush Thornmail and are playing into an enemy team who has majority physical damage, then it's so easy to carry in the mid game. You see so many heavy AD comps played in the lower elos too because of the high play rates of Master Yi, Yone, and Yasuo, so value of Rammus goes up drastically compared to the higher elos. We also see a lot more misfortune in the lower elos, and Rammus can do a really good job at diving on her in fights due to the engage range he's got with Q and R. Something to pay attention to on Rammus though is not tunneling on diving the backline in every fight. Rammus is as good of a peeler as he is a diver, so if the enemy team has one very fed melee diver like Master Yi or Yasuo, then instead of trying to dive onto the opposing ADC, who may be a lot weaker, just focus on sitting back and using your taunt on whoever is the biggest threat on the opposing team. With Rammus, you basically get to single out one champ on the enemy team who's guaranteed to get CC'd and not be able to function, so that's something you should always be keeping tabs on throughout the game. Moving over to the mid lane now, our first selection is a champ you don't see a whole lot of, but who is a really strong low elo mid laner being Heimerdinger. Heimerdinger is such a cheat code for low elo because of his ability to destroy a lot of common melee matchups and do so in a way that is consistently repeatable in every game. It takes no skill at all to place your turrets down with Heimer and shove the enemy under tower, and while you do this, it opens up easy ways for you to generate an advantage in lane. If you always have the enemy hemmed under tower, then you'll either force them to base and lose farm, or you will just poke away at them and potentially kill them if they choose to stick around. And the best part about Heimer and his ability to perma-shove is that he's way less vulnerable to getting ganked if he has 3 of his turrets up. If the enemy tries to gank you, then you have the bonus movement movement speed while in your turrets, so you can run away easily, and if they do try to dive on you, then hitting them with your E will provide a massive burst from your turrets. E cooldown is going to be the most important thing you focus on and play around during lane with Heimer. If E is up, then the enemy cannot be the aggressor onto you, because if they try to go in and you land your E, then they are going to take a load of damage from your turrets. When E is down though, you don't have a way of keeping the enemy off of you, so you have to play back a bit more and respect their trading window. Once you get level 6 with Heimer is when you get to begin playing hyper aggressive, because the enemy won't want to gank you when you can place down your R turret. As you transition into the mid game, looking for early Baron opportunities is a great way to win games on Heimer. You can 2-man Baron quite easily if you have a jungler who can tank Baron damage as long as your R is up. It doesn't even have to be a 2-man either, as oftentimes the whole enemy team will show bot lane, and if that's the case, then just spam ping Baron and grab it. Being opportunistic around these objectives is a great part of what makes Heimer so great, so if your map awareness is on point, then you can win games solely off of good macro while on Heimerding. If you want to play a mid lane assassin in the lower ranks, then there is one who always stands out above the rest, being Naafiri. Naafiri is the most optimal low elo assassin champ because she has the ability to one-shot her targets without nearly as much skill required as other assassins. Naafiri's gap close with R is point and click, so you can't mess up getting onto your target at all. If there's a squishy champ in your range, then you know you'll be able to dive in and assassinate them, which gives Naafiri a lot of consistency. Naafiri is super good for the chaotic nature of low elo as well, due to the reset mechanic she's got with her R. Whenever you score a takedown, you get the refresh on R gap close, so it makes jumping from target to target and cleaning up fights incredibly easy when you're ahead. And even though Naafiri doesn't have the highest skill ceiling, there are ways in which you can express your skill through good W timings to dodge key spells or landing Q for poke in lane, so you will get rewarded the more time you put into the champ. In terms of a low elo assassin though, there's nobody who comes close to matching the power of Naafiri, as she's always up above a 52% win rate in bronze, silver, and gold, which is 4% higher than the likes of Zed, Akali, Katarina, and LeBlanc. And then for our third mid lane recommendation for low elo, we've got a really powerful scaling pick in Veigar. So Veigar is an extremely strong low elo mid laner because he's simple to play and has the late game insurance. On average, games in low elo last a lot longer than the higher ranks, so you get a lot more value out of the stacking mechanic that Veigar has with his Q. The more time you have to farm, the more damage you'll be dealing, as each stack of Veigar's Q passive is going to be providing you with bonus AP. So it's a really simple game plan with Veigar in that you should be trying to farm up as much Q stacks as possible during lane and throughout the mid game so that you can begin one-shotting any squishy champ who walks on your screen. One of the best ways for you to climb out of low elo is just being super consistent with your farm and aiming to hit over 7 farm per minute in each game. Since Veigar is incentivized even more to farm relative to other champs, it should be of super high priority to you to achieve these high CS scores, and everything will fall into place. As you reach the mid game, Veigar's teamfight presence is incredibly high due to the zone control he's got with his E. Veigar E, when placed down around Baron or Dragon, is so game changing, and you don't need any sort of skill to get great use out of it. The only major downside to Veigar is that he's pretty vulnerable to heavy dive champs, so one thing we'd recommend is swap between Rod of Ages and Ludens for your rush item depending on the game. If the enemy team has a lot of assassins or dive threat, then go for Rod of Ages so that you're more durable. If the enemy team lacks dive and they are playing more squishy, rangy picks, then you can go Ludens to one-shot them easier. When it comes down to choosing a bot lane carry for the lower ranks, scaling picks are always going to be who you should put highest priority on, and right now with Senna being in such a great spot, she's a no-brainer. Senna just gains more relative value in the lower ranks because of the fact games last longer, which means she has the opportunity to stack more souls and become a bigger threat. The meta build for Senna is also really nice for low elo players because you go Black Cleaver, and this gives you a bit more margin for error compared to other ADCs. The majority of other ADCs don't build any health or defensive items as core items in their build, but since Senna grabs Black Cleaver and it offers up 400 health, you are more durable in the mid game. In regards to the build for Senna right now, we would recommend you go for the ultimate scaling setup with Shiv, Black Cleaver, and Manamune being core. In high elo, going Hex Optics over Manamune makes sense, but for low elo where games are lasting longer, you're more likely to hit 3 items, and therefore Manamune has more value since you need time to stack it up. Just remember, since you're building Manamune, you will need to grab a tier on your first base. You want to take Doran's Helm for your starting item, and then Jack of all trades and runes, as it's really easy for Senna to gain the 5 Jack stacks by opting for Doran's Helm, and Helm also helps a ton with Senna's survivability issues early on. Since this is a lot of information to remember, just have our new free build site pulled up before you hop into a game, and on the Senna page, it's going to provide you with all the necessary information related to her setup. We'll have a link in the top right corner of the screen so you can check out the site and make sure you never build the champion you're playing wrong again. The second ADC recommendation we've got for the lower elos right now is going to be Smolder. So Smolder is similar in theme to Senna in the sense that he also has a stacking mechanic in his kit to where the longer games last, the more powerful he becomes. Hitting 225 stacks of Smolder's Q passive is where he really comes online, and in the lower ranks, you'll be able to get there more often than not due to the longer game. A Smolder with 225 125 stacks becomes such a reliable damage threat because it takes no skill at all to use his Q, and it's going to deal a lot of damage. This is another reason why Smolder is such a good low elo pick, because he doesn't rely on weaving auto attacks as much as other ADCs to pump out DPS. A lot of his damage will be coming from his point and click Q, so the only thing you have to focus on is positioning in fights and not so much about weaving autos perfectly. Another thing we love about Smolder is the fact he builds 2 bruiser items in his core setup. You rush Essence Reaver into Black Cleaver and Spear of Shojin, so it's a really forgiving, more durable setup. Smolder is such a great low elo pick as well due to the fact that you are more incentivized to farm. Of course, you should be focused on farm regardless of what champ you're playing, but since Smolder literally gets more damage from his Q by farming efficiently, it's something you should be putting heavy priority on. And then for our third low elo bot lane carry, we have an AP champ who works incredibly well right now, being Brand. Brand is such a consistently powerful champion for low elo because of his teamfight presence and ability to hit his core items on a more frequent basis. As long as you can reach 3 items with Brand, then that's all you need to be effective, as Blackfire into Rylai's and Liandry's turns him into a teamfight monster. By playing Brand bot, you get the bonus gold on quest completion, and then with the average low elo game lasting longer, it means you'll be able to reach that core build more frequently. Another factor that makes Brand a phenomenal low elo pick is that he isn't as reliant on his support to win out in skirmishes. Brand at level 6 has the ability to deal so much AoE damage in skirmishes, so you can actually turn a lot of outnumbered fights in your favor. If your support dives in and misses all their spells, it's often not going to matter as much if you're playing Brand, because as long as your support can tank a bit of damage for you and be a distraction, then you'll be able to follow with plenty of damage yourself. Playing a champ like Brand, who has such a powerful team fight, is going to bode really well for low elo, because there will be so many Fiesta fights over Dragon or Baron, and that's where Brand can really pop off. If the enemy team is trying to take Dragon or Baron and Brand walks up and presses R, then he's going to completely obliterate them. Moving on to our low elo support picks now. First up, we've got the best range support for low elo right now, being Seraphine. So Seraphine is a really strong low elo support because even though she's classified as an enchanter, she's more of a mage enchanter mix, which gives you many more ways to carry. Most other enchanters rely very heavily on their teammates to perform in order to win games, but with Seraphine, you can find catch plays yourself and deal a good amount of damage, so you're a lot less reliant on your team. Seraphine's R is such a high impact spell that can instantly swing a game in your favor, and few ranged supports have this same kind of tool. Seraphine's R when fighting around Dragon or Baron poses such a threat, and in the lower ranks especially, players tend to bunch up in fights, so you'll be getting a ton of value out of the AoE aspect of the spell. Something worth noting for the skill order on Seraphine is taking 3 points in Q and then maxing your W out next. By doing this, you have the poke power from Q for lane, but then as you transition into the mid game and start team fighting, you get more points in W so that you'll be dishing out massive shields and heals for your teammates. And then something else to keep in mind is to take your E at level 1 instead of Q. Most Seraphine players take Q level 1, but E is stronger because it provides a slow and deals more damage early on. Another really strong carry support that we rate very highly for the lower ranks is Zyra. Zyra is arguably even better than Seraphine for the lower elos because of the fact she's a pure mage support. What's so nice about Zyra is that you can impact the game at level 6 completely by yourself. Positioning in the lane brush and fishing for roots with E is how you're going to want to try and set up plays. All it takes is for that one Zyra E to land, and then you follow with your full combo to deal a mass amount of damage. Oftentimes, if you find a catch, then all your ADC will have to do is follow with one ability or a few autos, and you've scored a kill. So if you can execute Zyra well, then you won't need a good ADC to win games. Zyra has some of the best zone control around objectives due to her plants and R, so this makes being ready for objectives a great win condition. Playing on the side of the map where the next objective is spawning, setting up vision 1 minute before it spawns, and then camping out in a brush to try and ambush an enemy squishy as they walk into you is a great way to give your team an advantage all by yourself. Really great part about Zyra as well is that similar to Brand, she's basically full build once she has Liandry's and Rylai's. Both of these items are insanely powerful on Zyra and synergize so well for her kit, so being able to hit them more consistently in lower elo games makes her that much better. So we've covered 2 ranged carry supports, but if melee engagers are more up your alley, then Leona is the best of the bunch for low elo. Leona works really well for low elo because she's super tanky and has a ton of CC, so it's very easy to be impactful in skirmishes. You also deal a surprising amount of damage too, which makes early game all-in plays extremely threatening. The roam potential of Leona is great too, especially when she gets level 6 because of the long range catch from R. So you've got different ways to carry with the champ, which helps you be impactful regardless of how bot lane is playing out. If you're winning bot with Leona, then you can just stay there and continue killing your opponent over and over again. If you're losing though, and your ADC is behind, then jumping ship and trying to roam for your mid laner or top laner is a great way to bring your team back into the game. Leona R for the lower ranks is such a high impact spell due to the fact that players are going to be much worse at positioning. Players won't respect the threat of Leona R as often either, so the spell has insane value to help you find picks on enemies who are out of position. This is often how you are going to win games in low elo as Leona. You want to spot an enemy who is on their own or split from their team, catch them out with R, and then give your team the the 5e4 advantage. But while lists like these show you what to play, our brand new Season 16 Essentials courses for every role teach you how to win, each designed to walk you through every stage of the game from start to finish. From the exact trading and recall timers you need to win lane, to the mid-game macro decisions 99% of players get completely wrong, all the way to the team fighting tips and tricks challengers abuse to always deal the highest damage possible. Whether you're a top laner in the most unfavorable matchup possible, a mid laner having to deal with everybody in your lane 24/7, a jungler trying to balance ganking with farming, an ADC stuck trying to hard carry with a support who just exists to grief you, or a support that's struggling to carry games on your own. Our Essentials courses are tailor-made to focus on the exact concepts that actually matter for climbing on your role in your ELO. Check them out today, completely risk-free, using the link in the pinned comment or description below. As if you don't climb at least 5 divisions, you get every penny back. So there you have it, everyone. Those are 3 of the best champs for every role that you can use to climb out of low ELO for Season 16. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you back soon.